The first day of testing is in the books. We got to see the edge rushers, defensive tackles, and linebackers. Let's take a look at whose stock is rising and whose is falling.
Jets, Jets!
Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. Boys and girls, we're talking a little NFL Combine, specifically the edge rushers, defensive tackles, and linebackers. This is the first day of testing for the Combine. I want to go over some of the risers, some of the fallers, and then give you some of my notes as far as who the Jets might be looking at, particularly at the defensive tackle and linebacker spots here. Now, everyone's always up in arms about the Combine. It's not a hot button issue, but it's a very, people either love it, they hate it. Then a lot of people don't tend to fall in the middle. I tend to fall in the middle. I really enjoy the Combine, but I also don't take too much stock into some of what we see here. But it is nice to kind of trigger that, like, oh, maybe I should go back and look at that guy's tape. Or, oh, that guy that I thought was really good put up some numbers that are, similar to some people that are really bad. Like, this is not something I want to maybe take a look at. So when everyone's on the field at the same time, in the same testing conditions, it really gives you the best grade on the prospects as far as like where they stand amongst their class. When you get the guys that are performing at their pro days, they're getting a little bit of advantage knowing who has already tested and then also having the benefit of having maybe a little more scripted workouts at their pro days later on. So something to keep in mind as we go through all this stuff. But let's jump into the first story from the defensive tackle side of things. This one's not a great one. This one coming from Jalen Carter. He got in a car accident where he was allegedly racing his car to a player, and a staff member from Georgia wound up passing away in the incident. He was had a warrant out for his arrest for reckless driving. He put out a statement. He actually went back to Athens, Georgia to take care of this, or at least handle some of the legal logistics right now. He says, "This morning I received a telephone call from the Athens, Georgia Police Department informing me that 2 misdemeanor warrants have been issued against me for reckless driving and racing. It is my intention to return to Athens to answer the misdemeanor charges against me and to make certain that the complete and accurate truth is presented. There is no question in my mind that when all facts are known, I will be fully exonerated of any criminal wrongdoing." So that's definitely alarming to kind of have happen, and it's a really sad story to have to talk about. But this was the guy that a lot of people sort of projected as the top non-quarterback off the board. So to have this kind of event back, I believe it happened in January, just after the national championship game, to have this kind of looming over you is not how you want to go through a draft process. And we heard, I think it was Todd McShay talk about like, oh, there might be some character concerns with Jalen Carter a little while ago, and then you wind up having this incident and everything comes out. So I'm curious to see where this actually makes Jalen Carter's stock fall to, or does it fall at all? I mean, I would have to imagine it's going to fall because Carter was answering questions and talking to teams, and then the next day wound up getting this like arrest warrant issued. So I'm sure he talked to a bunch of teams and probably did not bring up this whole conversation. So there's going to be a lot of teams that probably talk to this guy that feel like they may not be able to trust him if he did not, present everything fully at that particular point in time. I mean, I know there was nothing necessarily legal at the time, so maybe he didn't have to. It's just a weird sort of situation, and I don't know what happens. I mean, we've seen various incidents happen with draft prospects as the draft loomed closer. Like the famous one is the gas mask with Laramie Tunsil. He fell from like a top 3 pick to, I think he was number 12 or 10, somewhere in there. And then a few years ago, Lyle Collins was like being investigated for a murder of, I think it was his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend at the time. And they hadn't, really gone through the investigation. So a guy that was going to be a top 10 offensive lineman wound up going undrafted, and Dallas wound up getting him, and everything was fine. But now with Jalen Carter, is that going to be a similar situation to the Lyle Collins thing where, teams just don't want to touch him until they figure out what's going on? Or is this maybe a little different? Because from my understanding was he was in a separate car. So he was, what it appears like, was racing. So you would think reckless driving checks out, but is that necessarily worse than the murder investigation? Like which one, kind of weighs differently in sort of teams and how they project a certain player? I don't know. I'm not sure where this ends up making him fall. We'll wind up finding out on draft day. Maybe he has, maybe have a little more clarity by that point in time. But let's move off that stuff, and we'll get to the actual testing portion. So Kalia Cansey was the big name that everyone was kind of talking about. He ran a blazing fast 40-yard dash, 4.67 officially is what it came in at. Aaron Donald, also from Pitt, similar metrics to Cansey. Donald actually ran 0.01 seconds faster than Aaron Donald. And apparently, according to their athletic grades, Donald had like a 98 overall. Cansey has a 94. Now, there's only one Aaron Donald, so I'm not really going to put too much stock into this kid turning out to be like the next Aaron Donald or anything like that. But it's nice to see, similar school, similar metrics, and everyone gets all sorts of worked up about it. As far as like highlighting this particular group of people, the person I want to look at the most is Jalen Redmond. This kid is supposed to be, or was projected to be, a 4th through 6th round pick, and he just missed out on getting the top speed for a defensive tackle. I shouldn't say just missed out. He missed it by like 0.15. But of any of the prospects here, this one seems to be like the one that may have helped his draft stock the most. The Jets are going to be looking for a defensive tackle, particularly a guy that can work against the run, especially if you wind up not bringing back someone like Sheldon Rankins. I think it's important. Even if you do bring back Sheldon Rankins, you got to imagine that's going to be on a 1 or 2 year deal. If you wind up bringing in someone in the middle of the draft, get him on a nice cheap 4-year contract. So might be a good player to kind of take a look at, or at least go back and look at some more videotape on how he performed throughout the season. Up next, we're talking a little linebacker action. Trenton Simpson was the top player that a lot of people sort of kept their eye on as far as like big name guy for the testing group. He came in at a 4.43 40-yard dash, but the highlighting player, Owen Papo, I don't know if I pronounced that right, he's projected to be a 4th round pick, but he absolutely had himself a day. He absolutely helped his draft stock, running a blazing fast 4.39. That is absolutely lightning quick. Too fast. Absolutely too fast. Now, as far as like 4.39 for a linebacker, where does that like rank you? That puts you faster than DeAndre Hopkins. That puts you faster than Stefan Diggs. That puts you faster than Saquon Barkley. This is how fast this dude is going. And if you're talking maybe a 4th round grade on a linebacker, I like that. I like 4th, 5th round for the linebacker, defensive tackle, like those types of positions that aren't necessarily super flashy. But if this guy has the same consistent metrics and he winds up interviewing well and he winds up going on to his pro day and having a good day, he's going to go higher than the 4th round. So maybe Jets 3rd, 4th round. We'll see. Someone to certainly keep our eye on here as the draft process continues to move forward. The next one I want to talk about is the edge part of this class, and Nolan Smith showed out. This dude had, I think it was a torn pec, if I remember correctly. So he wound up not finishing out the season for Georgia, but this kid is fast. 4.39 40. So like I said before, faster than DeAndre Hopkins, faster than Saquon Barkley, faster than Stefan Diggs. Those types of metrics, when compared to like the elite players in the NFL, when you see it from like a linebacker or an edge rusher, is pretty jarring. But Nolan Smith is fantastic. He was going to be probably a top 10 pick. I'm not exactly sure where he sort of shakes out now. I've seen him kind of in the tail end of the 1st, beginning part of the 2nd, but I would imagine after showing out these type of athletic testing numbers, he's going to skyrocket up boards, and he interviewed incredibly well. This guy is absolutely a leader. I know the Jets don't really need an edge rusher, but if there was a situation where like maybe they felt like Bryce Huff was going to want some insane amount of money for relatively low production, or I don't want to say relatively low production because he's been producing high, but I'm just saying like instead of doing maybe the tag or something like that, and they wanted to look at him in the future, no, I virtually see no way the Jets are going to wind up signing this guy. But he's a really good player, and I think if your team is not the Jets and you're looking for an edge rusher, this is someone you should really consider here. The other name that popped out to a lot of people was, I'm going to try and pronounce this, it's not going to come out right, and it's Adetomiwa Adewawawa. Damn it. Sorry. All right. That guy. Yeah. Basically, this dude is 6'2", 282 pounds, and he wound up having himself a day. He could have tested with the defensive tackles. That's the type of size he had, and he wound up putting a 4.49 40-yard dash up. So when you think about the top guy for the defensive tackles in Clancy putting up the numbers he put up, this guy beat him. This guy's even faster. So someone to keep an eye on as far as numbers go. But as far as like who helped themselves the most here, that had to be Byron Young, the edge out of Tennessee. He's projected to be about a 4th round grade right now, but he hit like damn near top scores in like every category. So you got to think teams are going to go back, look at him, reevaluate his tape, and then kind of reassess how they want to rank him going forward. But yeah, he definitely helped his draft stock. The Jets are going to need, of this group of players, you're looking primarily at defensive tackle. You're primarily looking at linebacker. So with the Jets, Sheldon Rankins, is he coming back? Are we going to wind up, wanting to retain him? We heard Robert Saleh say they want to kind of, bring everyone back on the defensive side and retool the offense. So it seems like they're going to try and bring back Sheldon Rankins. On the linebacker front, we have a lot of issues. You have guys like CJ Mosley, who has like a $21.5 million cap hit this year. Then you have free agents in Quan Alexander and Quincy Williams. Are they coming back? We've heard Quincy wants like some pretty aggressive type money for what I think a lot of Jet fans probably feel about him. And then Quan Alexander, we had him on a really cheap deal last year. Is he going to sign for remotely the same type of deal this year, or is he going to want to get paid? So linebacker is going to be a big key area of concern for the New York Jets. I expect them to handle that earlier in the draft, like probably rounds 2 through 5, if I had to guess. But names to keep an eye on, for sure. I want to hear from you guys. What did you think about this particular group of prospects? Was there someone that really jumped off the page at you, or was there someone that maybe you wanted to perform well and maybe didn't? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, go Jets.
Jets!